Welcome back to College Corner as we get into week 7 of the college football season. Some great games on the slate that we'll be covering here today. Last week, another 3-1 week here on the channel. Our one loser was one of my favorite bets of the weekend, which was absolutely awful. If he had Colorado State up 17-0, gave up like 35 unanswered points. Impressive stuff. And believe it or not, I'm going to go back to them this week. But still hitting it over 60% on the season. We've had a ton of 3-1 weeks. Would love to get a 4-0 week in here on a video. But again, have player props and a number of sides here, including in that big game this weekend, Oregon-Washington. So guys, if you are enjoying the content from me, would love to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well so you continue to get this content. And as well, follow me on Twitter. I got way more plays on there, writing props pieces. I'll probably have more sides, some totals that we don't have here yet today. Just diving into it. I'm going to be at the Michigan-Indiana game this weekend, so I'm going to try to find some player props and plays there too. But let's get into these plays for week 7. First up, Oregon, +3. Really like him here on the road at Washington. It's kind of hard not to like any dog. Like whoever was the dog in this game, I could find a reason to like. But as I dive deeper into this matchup, I really find myself liking Oregon quite a bit here. And in a game that should have a lot of points, I got no problem if you want to just forego the points and take them on the money line. But getting a field goal will be nice in a game. I think will definitely be close. But what I like the most is Oregon's ability to limit mistakes and their defense as well. So just the mistake side of things. The reason I say that is because Bo Nix, people like to talk about Bo Nix as a guy that can't show up in the big moments, but he wasn't showing up for an SEC program against SEC competition in a completely different offense that was under Gus Malzahn. Now the offense is much, much different in Oregon. Nix just has a 1.1% turnover-worthy play rate this season. He has just 1 interception on the year, and he also gets the ball out quickly and in short areas of the field. So that limits those opportunities for opponents to be able to make those interceptions, to force those turnovers. He has the 8th fastest time to throw in the country, and his average up the target of just 6.4 yards, very low as well. So it's going to be hard to generate those plays to steal possessions. If you're a team like Washington against this offense, they make it very difficult to be able to do so. And then as well, what I also love when you're going against this Washington defense, I don't think they match up well whatsoever. Their defense has not been anywhere near the level of Oregon's. They're 106th in opponent EPA per rush and have not tackled well, which is a major problem against this offense. Like I mentioned, get the ball out quickly, get it to short areas of the field, and put their receivers in opportunities to create yards after the catch. And Washington's defense ranks 109th in broken tackle rate. They have not tackled well enough this season. The way that they haven't stopped the run as well makes it so that a big game for Bucky Irving could be on the horizon as well. So I like what Oregon can do offensively. On the defensive side for Oregon, Washington's going to get their points. They're going to score, they can just touch the field and they're going to score at least 24 in this game. But what I think I like it defensively from Oregon is their pass rush. Their front four is really solid. Washington has a great offensive line, great pass protection, especially their 2 tackles. The interior is where they could generate some pressure. And if they generate pressure with 4, this is where Penix can get into making some mistakes, which he's definitely still prone to do at Washington. He's done it at Washington, really did it at Indiana. That's something that's still a part of his game. It's the number 1 pass defense in the country. 3.9 yards per coverage snap. They're 9th in EPA against the pass. And like I mentioned about that pass rush, their sack rate, 13.4%, is 19th, and their pressure rate of over 31% is 39th. So I think Oregon is the more complete team here. I know they're going on the road, but I like getting the points with them and taking them +3. I mentioned Colorado State as well. They're back at home after a tough loss to Utah State where the offense just never had any rhythm. They're getting 7.5 points here against Boise State, and I really think that's too much. Obviously a buy low spot after a really bad outing from the Rams last week. But I think this is a great opportunity for their passing attack to get back on track. It was terrible last week, but Boise State 105th in pass defense this season. They're giving up 9.6 yards per attempt, which is 131st. They're giving up far too many explosive plays as well. I think they're bottom 10 in the country in that category, which bodes really well for this Colorado State team to be able to cover a number of more than a touchdown in this one. Getting 7.5 points, I really like that at home. Colorado State, I didn't mention this, I guess, for you to know, is very pass-happy team. 65.7% of plays they're throwing the football. That is 4th in the country. So those weaknesses of Boise State plays right into the hands of what this Colorado State offense wants to do. Defensively for Colorado State can cause a lot of havoc in the backfield and create negative plays. 12.3% sack rate, 32% pressure rate. I like that, getting some pressure on Taylon Green, who's not an excellent passer. This team is more focused on running the football, and Colorado State giving up 4.8 yards per attempt, so not terrific, about average in the country, and I think that's good enough here at home, getting more than a touchdown. I definitely think they keep this thing close. Going to our player prop for this week, they've been crushing it for me this season. The player props are really the best way to go here in college football. Been using the tools over at props.cash. They're the presenting sponsor of all college corner videos this season. If you guys haven't checked them out, awesome player prop tool to check out data for players when it comes to have they been able to clear this number during the season, how many opportunities are they getting per game, and then as well looking at their opponents and how they've been this season too. I like Joe Milton, over 249.5 passing yards. Again, if you want to use the tools of props.cash for yourself, promo code OwnersBox gets you 25% off your first month, just $15. They got it for every sport. You get access to every single sport for college football. Really, really key, because we're going to get a number here listed at 249.5 that if you look at the data that I'm going to show you, Joe Milton's got under this number in 4 or 5 starts, so the data doesn't look good. But as I look into more of these underlying numbers, he's only thrown the ball 32 times per game this season. That will not be the case here against Texas A&M, and that is why this number is so high. Sometimes when you see a number that a quarterback hasn't been able to clear, and you've seen it over and over again, like in this case, only one game this season, why is it listed at that number? Well, I can tell you why and why I like this over. It is because this A&M run defense is really, really good. They're 15th in EPA against the run, top 20 in stuff rate, 13th in yards per attempt, just 3.9 yards per attempt. So if Tennessee wants to move the ball offensively, it's going to be behind the arm of Joe Milton, because Texas A&M does a great job of taking away the run game. But we did see Tyler Van Dyke earlier in the year throw for over 370 yards. We saw Jalen Milroe last week throw for 321. This is not a good pass defense from Texas A&M. Any team they've gone against with a pulse of a passing offense, they have really struggled, because again, teams need to throw the football to be able to move it offensively, and they will do that here with Milton. I think he's going to be throwing the ball more closer to 40 times in this game, as opposed to, like I mentioned, the 32 his averages this season, as you can see by the numbers. So really like his over 249.5 against this Texas A&M pass defense. My final play, one that back in a team that I've tended to fade and made some good money fading, but I think I have a really good feel for them, and that's why it's gone so well. South Carolina. I'm taking the -2.5 at home against Florida. Love seeing them at home here as only a short favorite. So we know what the weaknesses are of this South Carolina team. Their pass protection, they can't really run the ball, and their defense is just straight up sorry. Their pass defense is really, really bad. But Florida, perfect matchup here. So what I like, Florida cannot generate a lot of pressure rushing the passer. They've lost a lot of the guys in their front four on both sides of the ball. So that's where they've really struggled. Florida's 87th on the season in sack rate, and they love to blitz. And this is where Spencer Rattler has taken some major strides this season in terms of his efficiency. Against the blitz, he went from being really, really poor last season to being one of the best in the country. He's completing over 73% of his passes against the blitz, 9.5 yards per attempt. His passer rating of 134.1 is 13th in college football. This is his bread and butter this season, because teams are seeing this offensive line really, really struggle, and they are just bringing the house, trying to get after them, and he's making them pay. And this is a team in Florida that needs to bring that pressure, or bring that blitz to be able to generate pressure. And Rattler is one that will be able to take advantage of that. So love what they can do in the passing game against this Florida defense. And then for Florida, offensively, if you've been watching them at all this season, when this offense goes on the road, they cannot score any points. I'm not sure if anyone would know this. They are averaging just 12.5 points per game on the road this season. That ranks 122nd in the country. This is a tale of two different teams at home and on the road. We saw them at home against Tennessee be able to score, but on the road and against pretty much any opponent, they haven't been able to do it. If you remember the Utah game early in the year as well. So I love this matchup for South Carolina, because I think they'll have an easy time here offensively, and this offense for Florida is nothing to be scared about. So I think it's a get-right spot here for the defense. Those are my 4 favorite plays heading into week 7 of the college football season. Again, guys, I will have more for you. So if you drop me a follow on Twitter, I'll include the link to my Twitter in the description. It's just spelled out my full name, Tyler McKillop. So drop me a follow there. I'll have more plays then. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video as well, would really appreciate if you let that like button. If you learned anything about any of these teams, enjoy a great weekend in college football, and we will see you on the next one.